Hello my tech friends, I'm so excited for this one. A tech channel with a bunch of hardware on a table. It's starting to smell like a build video, right? But it's not just any build video, this is my personal rig and it's a big upgrade. We're talking 2.5K worth of hardware right here on this table, and compared to my Node 202 build that's been featured on the channel, that had an i5 9600K and a GTX 1060. This is significantly more performance at a very similar size, to be honest. We got the Ncase M1. This is going to be small form factor again, big fan of small form factor. So what I'm going to do is take you through the parts, edit a pretty build montage together, and then do some thermal optimization before giving you guys my final thoughts of the build. But if you're new here and you like small form factor and PC hardware, you're definitely going to want to get subscribed, as we're going to do a lot of mods to this build and make it truly one of a kind. But otherwise, let's get to it. So let me talk you through all the glorious hardware that makes this build what it is. Of course we went Ryzen. It's really difficult not to, considering price and performance, and the 3700X 8 cores 16 threads up to 4.4 GHz clock speed is a big upgrade and a great option for the price. And to overclock this CPU and squeeze even more performance out of it, we're using the H100i Platinum that was featured in Budget vs Beast episode 2. This will be much more capable at handling the more multi-threaded workloads that I've been doing recently, and maybe some potential for game streaming. To accompany the 3700X, we have 32 GB of Corsair Vengeance Pro RGB memory. Although it has pretty high CAS latency of 18, the 3600 MHz speed will be great for Ryzen, and hopefully we can tighten up those timings a little. For the motherboard, we have the Asus X570i Gaming, with a great feature set including PCIe Gen 4, a solid VRM solution with 70 amp power stages and active cooling, and just take a look at all that I/O. That's more than what you get on a lot of ATX motherboards. This is one of the most popular mini ITX motherboards for a very good reason. As for the big kahunas, we have an EVGA RTX 2080 Ti XC Ultra that's sure to push a ridiculous frame rate whilst keeping cool with that absolute tank of a cooler. Funnily enough, I wasn't actually looking for a triple slot GPU specifically, but I was looking for a 2080 Ti that used a reference PCB, which this does. But my question to you is, why would I want one with a reference PCB specifically? Comment below if you think you know the answer, and 5 internet points if you're right. For our storage, we have a 500GB 950 Pro M.2 SSD and a 1TB 860 EVO SATA SSD from Samsung. Both of these have been great drives, and I'm happily carrying them over from my previous build. And to power the system, we have the SF750 Platinum power supply from Corsair. As the name suggests, a 750 watt PSU while being 80 plus Platinum rated. With premium sleeve cables and a fan stop mode under light loads, it's easy to see why this is a favourite among small form factor enthusiasts. This is absolutely overkill for this build. But this build is also going to be noise optimized, and an overpowered PSU running at a slower fan speed will definitely help with that. And to house the components, we have the absolutely stunning Ncase M1. I've wanted one of these for such a long time, and god it looks sexy. But you have no idea how long I spent trying to decide whether I wanted the black or the silver one, so I really hope that I made the right decision. But we might have a little magic that we can try. I was browsing around the dark web, and apparently you can call upon somebody called the Small Form Factor Messiah and instantly change the panel of any case under like 20 litres. Alright, let's test this out. You gotta concentrate. Take, Optimum Tech, take, Optimum Tech, take. Fuck me, it worked. But in all seriousness, if you like small form factor, Optimum Tech is also a great channel for the mini builds, and I'll link his channel below for you. But a big thank you to the guy on the small form factor PC subreddit that sold me the silver panels. It's really nice to have that versatility, but let me know in the comments below if you prefer black or silver. So I guess let's build this thing. So now that we're all built, I'm gonna talk you through my experience of the build, what I liked and what I didn't like about it. But firstly, what do you guys think of the black and silver? I thought originally it was going to be a choice between black or silver, but whilst I was swapping the panels out, I came across this by accident, and I love it actually. I think the black and silver looks incredible, but let me know in the comments below which you prefer, black, silver, or black and silver. So my thoughts of the build, did it go to plan? The Ncase M1, fantastic case, really space efficient. They've limited some areas to give you more space in others. The best example that I can give of this is there is next to no space behind the motherboard, so you're not going to be routing any cables behind the motherboard tray. So these are all going to have to be in sight and you're going to have to manage them properly. But in all fairness, that wasn't too hard, especially with the Corsair SF750 power supply. The cables are significantly shorter than what you get with an ATX power supply, so it's good that they had that forethought to supply shorter cables. But speaking of cables, one of the mods that I'm going to do to this case is a full custom sleeve cable set, which I'm going to try and do with a slightly different mentality. It's going to be significantly easier and require significantly less time than probably any video that you've seen out there on the internet. So stay tuned for that. Otherwise, the build is basically the same as an ATX build, it's just smaller. It's not even a split or a sandwich layout, it's literally the same style of case that you're used to working in, just 12.7 litres. So how do I have this set up? What is my fan orientation? What's the performance? How fast does it go? Well, I decided to intake air from the bottom via the GPU fans and exhaust it through the AIO. Optimum Tech has actually done a lot of testing on this case and he typically recommends fully positive pressure, both the GPU and the AIO intaking air. But he has recommended this with additional fans below the GPU, which I cannot fit. And I'm personally concerned about recirculation of hot air within the GPU, but it's a great theory, but we should really test that. So as it turns out, he was right. Let me show you. As you can see with the worst case scenario results running IDA64 and Firmark, we actually saw a benefit for having the system set up fully positive pressure, despite the differences, especially with GPU cooling. But this just goes to show it's fine to have a theory, and my theory seemed pretty sound, but don't assume it's right when you can test it. And I proved myself wrong. So how fast does it go? Well, I'm going to do what I think is the bare minimum somebody with this kind of setup should do as soon as they boot it up, which is set the XMP profile and the Infinity Fabric clock accordingly, which is 3600 and 1800 megahertz respectively for my memory kit. But I'm going to spend a bit of time later on tinkering with the hardware, dialing in overclocks, undervolts and tuning the memory, and I'll have to update you properly on the updated results in the first case mod video, which should be relatively soon. And to no one's surprise, this thing absolutely demolishes even without proper tuning. We're seeing 4612 in Cinebench at R20, and as for combined CPU and GPU benchmarks, our Firestrike scores are 26,934 total, 33,375 for the graphics score, 24,338 for the physics score, and 11,776 for the combined score. And all of this in a beautiful 12.7 litre package. Don't get me wrong, they do come smaller, but this is my build and I absolutely love it. But as for a sneak peek, for those of you that made it this far, it's going to be a custom-made tempered glass panel mod. Now, you've probably seen this before, especially if you're a fan of the Ncase M1, but you haven't seen one like this before. Now, you could go for an official one off Ncase, but there's two problems with that. One, minor problem, it extends inward, so it starts limiting your compatibility with GPUs and cooler heights. And then the second more major problem with that is they're nowhere to be found. And they're not compatible with the Ncase M1 V6 unless you mod them quite heavily. Now, if you were to custom make one, they're like 4 or 5 mils thick, and they end up just looking a bit shit. The problem is, all of the paneling on this case is 1mm thick, and when you've got a 5mm thick tempered glass panel, it extends out significantly. So, in TechLens fashion, we're going to be doing things a bit differently, and this is what I've got. This is 0.7mm thick tempered glass. Now, the reason why it's 0.7mm is because the side panels on this case are 1mm, and I'll need, I think, 0.3mm to mount it. So this should be the exact same width when finished as one of these panels. So this should be significantly better than previous ones that you've seen. What I'll do is I'll link to everything in the video description for you, but if you're not part of the community yet, go ahead, go below, click subscribe, turn on notifications, and make sure that you don't miss the next video featuring this build. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. A like is always appreciated if you haven't subscribed, and I will see you in the next one.